Cringe edgelord JD Vance couldn't help himself and kind of self-cucked during a bizarre interview with Real America's Voice. I'm going to explain. Yesterday, we went over these leaked text messages or Telegram messages from local Republican leaders where they said things such as, "I love Hitler," among others. JD Vance was asked about it, and he just kind of goes, "Not a real issue. It's kids in a chat room."
By focusing on what kids are saying in a group chat, grow up. I'm sorry, focus on the real issues. Don't focus on what kids say in group chats. But there's another angle to this that I just have to be honest about. I mean, I'm like an old guy at this point. I'm 41 years old. I have 3 kids. I grew up in a different world, right? Where not most of the stupid things that I did when I was a teenager and a young adult, they're not on the internet. Like, I'm going to tell my kids, especially my boys, don't put things on the internet. Like, be careful with what you post. If you put something in a group chat, assume that some scumbag is going to leak it in an effort to try to cause you harm or cause your family harm. But the reality is that kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy,
young boys, kids,
offensive jokes. Like, that's what kids do. And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive stupid joke, is cause to ruin their lives. And at some point, we're all going to have to say, enough of this BS.
All right, so there's like 10 issues here. Now, when JD Vance says, should we ruin someone's life over something they said as a little kid? Well, let's get to the little kid thing in a second. We're not necessarily talking about ruining lives, but the question is, should local Republican chapters and local Republican offices be led by people saying, "I love Hitler" in a group chat? It's not about ruining your life. It's should they be leading the Republican Party? But JD Vance is painting this like it was teenagers saying stupid stuff online. That is not what happened. These were not middle schoolers or high schoolers. These were state and local Republican leaders from Young Republicans. They are directly connected to the Republican Party's national infrastructure. In fact, if JD Vance ends up being the future of MAGA and runs in 2028, it is likely that some of the people in this telegram saying stuff like "I love Hitler" would be working for JD Vance. The types of people, JD Vance wants you to believe that it's an 11-year-old video gamer who said the N-word while playing World of Warcraft. These are local Republican leaders, and they're the types of people that might run JD Vance's New Hampshire operation in a 2028 campaign. They are chairs and vice chairs of Young Republican chapters in Texas, Florida, and New York. They are campaign staffers. They are consultants. They are aides to sitting Republican lawmakers. In other words, it's the next generation of Republican leadership. Some of them are in their mid-30s. Joe Maligno, who's one of the people in the group chat, is 35 years old. Peter Giunta is 31 years old. Trump does this too. Trump often will talk about his children, and he'll go, they're going after Don Jr. He's a good kid. He's a good kid. Don Jr. is like 46 years old or something like that. Hold on, let me be precise. I always forget. 47 years old. And Trump goes, whenever they go after, these are kids. These are good kids. JD Vance didn't limit his inane and dilapidated commentary just to the "I love Hitler" chat. He also talked about political violence, and he's continuing to insist most political violence comes from the left. I know you all know this. It does not.
That real unity comes from acknowledging the reality of the situation that we're in, right? Unity requires everybody being on the same page, having some commonality of values. And real unity requires us to acknowledge the fact that while, yes, there are crazies on both sides, we have a country of 330 million people, you're going to be able to find crazies on either side. Political violence is just a statistical fact. It's a bigger problem on the left. And if you had, God forbid, somebody on the left who was assassinated, I'm sure that you could find one person who would maybe celebrate it or one person who would be offensive. But the fact that it became mainstream to celebrate Charlie's death, to talk about the fact that he maybe deserved to die because he had said hateful things like...
Yeah, that just wasn't happening. It never became mainstream to celebrate Charlie Kirk's death. No serious left commentator celebrated his death. There were some people who made, like random civilians who made social media posts, some of whom lost their jobs, it was never mainstream to celebrate Charlie Kirk's death. What is he talking about? But the real issue I have is that he's going back to this trope of most political violence in the US is from the left. If you look at any major data set, so you look at the FBI data, you go, oh, I don't like that. Well, look at the Department of Homeland Security. Oh, I don't like that. Well, look at the ADL. I don't like the ADL. Look at CSIS. They all show the same thing. Right-wing extremists are doing most American political violence in the United States. The ADL has it at over 75% of extremist murders came from the right, only 4% from the left. None of these are justified, but they're overwhelmingly from the right. CSIS says 2/3 of terrorist plots or attacks since 1994 were right-wing. That's like 67%. Only 13% were left-wing. We got to do away with the left-wing ones too, but they're a much smaller portion. You look at FBI or DHS data, both of them identify white supremacist and far-right domestic terrorism as the most persistent and lethal threat to the country. They are lying about reality because reality makes them look really bad. And so the truth is, think about the truth and the story JD Vance is telling you. The truth is, most political violence is right-wing in the United States, and the people involved in the Telegram chat are state and local Republican leaders and aides and staffers. JD Vance is telling you these were kids in a chat room whose lives shouldn't be ruined, and that most political violence is coming from the left. How do we come together and solve any problem in this country if we have one side that is giving you a version of reality that has no connection whatsoever to the facts? I would argue we can't. I don't know how we would do it. On the bonus show today, we will talk about visas getting revoked for foreigners, by the way, over comments they made about Charlie Kirk's death. We will talk about the U.S. Capitol Police investigating a flag with a swastika in a Republican representative's office. And a judge has stopped Donald Trump's planned layoffs of federal workers during the shutdown, saying they are against the law. When has something being against the law ever stopped Donald Trump from doing it anyway? Well, we've got to consider that. But we will discuss all of those stories and more when producer Pat joins me on the bonus show. Sign up at joinpakman.com and make sure you're also getting my free daily newsletter via Substack, substack.davidpakman.com. See you on the bonus show. New show tomorrow.